And just like that, our hopes and dreams have arrived. Because in, only a few hours, League Classic will be launching. And I will be live streaming it. In fact, Riot is running a special promo to celebrate Classic, and so if you gift a sub on Twitch, you get the Classic pre-Void Kassadin skin. Just make sure to do it on my channel, thank you. And surprisingly, even though it is technically still not out, Riot already accidentally revealed what champions will be coming up in the first patch. After which they made more decisions that really underlined what Classic is supposed to be about. Fun. And so, let's dive into it. Now, first off, to really prove what we've already known about, the fact that the Classic team cares, they have publicly stated that if people talk, they will listen. But they need to hear the feedback first to implement things. Also, they will implement things if they make sense for the Classic setting. And so, for example, yes, people are very vocal about the Home Guard. And I can tell you, it is pretty much guaranteed that Riot heard about it. And if you want a proof, yesterday for many hours, Feral Pony was on Twitter replying to all sorts of questions. And he even confirmed that he saw our last video, which only proves that the Classic team is heavily connected with the community. In fact, we made a mistake in the last video and Feral Pony cleaned it up. You see, last time when we talked about the bundles, which includes the Premium Battle Pass and the Founder skins and the Champion bundle, which is a bundle that gives you the first 40 champions to arrive in the game. Now, because that bundle exists, it was obvious that people would have to buy the champions. Why else would it exist? And so immediately we thought that the champions would be bought with influence points just like in the old days, meaning you would be deciding if you want to buy a champion or a rune. However, it was confirmed that will not be the case. Instead, the champions will be purchasable with Blue Essence. And that is because all the champion purchases are connected to Modern League. Meaning that if you own those champions in Modern League, you will already have them in Classic. So all your influence points can be funneled into runes. Now, this also means that that bundle is essentially aimed at new players without the champions. So it should actually help them catch up with everyone else. But because the champions will be bought with Blue Essence otherwise, all the people who decide to skip this bundle will not be behind on any kind of progression, because their influence points will still be separate currency. So in reality, this is a pretty good system, where only one question remains. If you buy the Classic bundle, which gives you a bunch of champions, do those champions also transfer back to Modern? It would make sense if they did. And I'll be honest, maybe such bundle already exists, but we don't know about it because we own all the champions and so the bundle doesn't pop up in the store. I don't know. But just rest knowing that the champion acquisition in Classic is actually pretty good. And so, moving on. On this journey where Riot is trying to get to know the new Classic audience, they already made some decisions that prove their dedication, with one of the newer, bigger W's being Riot banning win rates in their API, specifically for Classic. That's right, even though LoL King was quite iconic for old League, just like Surrender at 20, people will not be able to access the win rates of Classic champions through Riot's own servers. Now, apparently, at first, these stats were available in Riot's API, and Riot asked the websites to not show the stats publicly to anyone, but because some websites ignored that request, it seems like Riot just decided to turn off that part of API entirely. And it all happened with this message. Hello everyone, with the announcement of League Classic we want to share a quick but important update regarding its data. League Classic match history data will not be available via the Riot API, and to preserve the spirit of the mode, we ask the League Classic data not be aggregated or displayed to users in any form. However, League Classic will be supported as a valid map type in our tournament API, allowing for the creation and management of community-led League Classic tournaments. So yes, tournaments are still supported for Classic. In fact, it seems like Dumps is trying to pull one off. But when it comes to the win rates, you might be asking, why would Riot do that? Well, for a very simple reason it turns out. Classic is all about rediscovering the weird builds on champions that shouldn't work. That's why we can see a lot of AP Scions, and AP Ezreals, and AP Cho'Gaths, and AP Master Yis, and AP Corkis. In fact, half of the roster can be played as AP. But if you get into the queue and you see AP Corki, if someone has an extension that shows a 30% win rate on an AP Corki, what do you think will happen? Not only will people be discouraged from trying those kinds of builds, but other players might be encouraged to dodge queues, and instead of rediscovering new builds, a lot of players would be pushed towards the classic cookie cutter builds for champions, which is not what Riot wants. They actually want Classic to be the stupid fun within balance reasons. So, double bot Bruiser? That's fine. ADC jungle? Sure. River heal bot Soraka? Hell yeah! And so with this one simple change, Riot wants fun to live on. So no hyper optimizing. And speaking of champions with weird builds, that's where we go next. So on their social media, Riot already revealed the first ever Classic roadmap. And we'll have a look at the full thing in a second. Before that, we have to focus on one specific point. The patch 26.16 will be arriving on August the 12th, and it should bring in 3 new champions. Personally, I hope we don't get all 3 of them at the same time. I actually wish they get spread out throughout the weeks with 1 champion every week, kinda like what we had back in the day. I think that would be the most fun way to do it. But there is a good chance that these champions will be bundled together, because with the new patch that dropped onto PBE, we might have already learned who the champions are. And so, with the power of tooltips, everything was revealed. That's why I want Classic to avoid PBE as much as possible. Anyway, by looking at these tooltips, we can see what's going on. And so, with the first ability being called a Key Strike, yeah, Shen is coming. And he is coming with his old awesome kit. So, for his passive, every few seconds, his next auto attack will restore energy and deal bonus magic damage that scales with his bonus health, with every auto attack shortening the cooldown on the passive by a second. His Q then throws his sword at a target, which marks it, and if anyone hits that enemy, which also includes the allies, they get healed for a percentage of Shen's bonus health. And if Shen kills the target, meaning minions mostly, he gets a chunky percentage heal on himself. And since almost everything scales with health, you need as much health as possible on Shen. Then there is his W, which actually scales with AP, and it gives him a shield. That's mostly it. Although while the shield is up, his auto attacks reduce the cooldown on the passive by 1 more second. Then his E is the classic dash taunt, which also scales with AP. And his ultimate is the classic global shield teleport on an ally, which also scales with AP. And so once again, almost every champion can be played as AP. And so, since Shen is coming to the game, who else could be connected to him? Well, of course, it would have to be Kennen! Yes, Kennen is also coming to the game, and he is almost exactly the same as the modern version. Every 3 marks on an enemy from his abilities stuns them and restores energy. His Q is the thrown shuriken. His W zaps someone who already has a mark on them. Although the passive side of his W gives him bonus physical damage on every 5th attack. Meaning, yes, expect some AD cannons in the bot lane, just like the good old days. Then his E is the rush that zaps enemies, although he also gets resistances in the dash. And his ultimate is the good old AoE storm. So, nothing really that special for Kennen. Although do expect some AD Kennen maniacs. And so lastly, for the 3rd champion, who do you think would fill the combo? That's right, Akali! Akali is a very classic champion, and it's awesome to see her in her old form. Although she will be Terror on the Rift. So her passive gives her 3 stats, with her AP giving her bonus damage on her auto attacks, and her AD giving her free spell vamp. So the more hybrid you build her, the more unhinged she gets. Which also means it is very easy for her to snowball, especially because she's an assassin. So her Q, similar to Shen, you'll see that is a thing for ninjas. throws her scythe at the enemy, which also marks them, with the next auto attack on the target detonating it, dealing more damage. Her W is the classic Stealth Shroud, although this one also gives her resistances. So remember to buy Oracle's Elixir. Her E then deals AoE damage around her, which scales with both AD and AP. And her ultimate is her dash. Now, in this old form, she can dash 3 times, and that's kinda all it is. You dash to the target and deal AP damage. That's it. And so yes, in the first patch, expect to get 3 ninjas. But not Zed, because Zed doesn't feel as classic as all the other champions. But I assume he is gonna come eventually. Which then finally gets us to the last part, the rest of the roadmap. So it is confirmed that there will be balance changes every patch, especially on launch, things will go crazy. And so today, Classic is coming out with the first pass, and we also get our first seasonal journey rank. Then on August the 12th we get the 3 ninjas. On the 26th of August, the first voting will happen. I am looking forward to see that chaos, which is where we also get more rune options. The next month, on September the 9th, we get more champions. I hope they tie them together thematically, so maybe Mordekaiser and Hecarim. Maybe we get Draven and Driven. But we are still waiting for Poppy. She has to come with Galio, right? But then on September 23rd, more voting will happen. And then on October the 7th, the second season of Classic comes out with its pass. Just in time for Worlds. And so, overall, the Classic development cycle actually feels pretty good. The team is making good decisions while listening to the community. They are replying to what people are saying, and it seems like their plan is solid. So right now, we are waiting for only one thing to happen. Well, 2 technically. There are still the modern skins, whatever happens with those. But more importantly, I really wanna see what's happening to Home Guard.